Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the 9 p.m. English News Edition. Here are the top stories. After 4 months out of operation, the Community Development Center CDCs are preparing to reopen and resume operations. International news: Africa is expected to partially recover next year from the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, to the African Development Bank said. These were the headlines. We began this edition with this message of congratulations from the President of the Republic to his French counterpart. The President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Marguerite, sent a congratulatory telegram to his counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, in the run-up of the French National Day. I have the honor on the occasion of the national holiday of 14 July to extend on my own behalf and on behalf of the people of Djibouti to you and to the friendly people of France my best wish of happiness, health, peace and prosperity, wrote President Gelle. On this August commemorative date, it is also a pleasure for me to reiterate our commitment to this unique, singular and strategic relationship we have with your country, and to confirm that we also share the same ambition to raise these relations to a higher level in all fields. Then he noted, "Be assured, dear friend, that with a common will we will spare no effort hand in hand, so that our relations rooted in history and projects into the future are always marked by the seal of partnership, circular friendship, a shared language and mutual trust, each time renewed and maintained," he continued, reiterating its best wish to President Emmanuel Macron and to the world and of the friendly French people. Now, the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohamed Ali Ahmed, went to Rwanda this weekend for a special trip, during which he had meetings with the living of Rwanda. Coming from different sub-prefectures of Rwanda, this meeting with mainly a youth assembly took place in an atmosphere of openness. The participatory dialogue with the population, especially with its youth, is part of the chapter of permanent consultation of the President of the Assembly in all the localities. Thus, this weekend, the President met with his own people as an opportunity for the latter to collect the grievances of the youth. This dialogue session took part under the Great Fig Tree of Rwanda, a highly symbolic place. Many issues were discussed, including the employment of young graduates, the issue of water, which is a very pressing one at this time, development project for the benefit of the region, and ways of setting up entrepreneurial initiative for young people. For his part, the President of the Parliament outlined the objective of this very committing himself at the same time to work to respond as quickly as possible to the demands of the people of the Rwanda region. He referred to the importance of the meeting he had with the young people of the Rwanda district and said, I quote, "We are in the Rwanda district as part of the quick visit. We have heard complaints. Notables, young people and women have presented these aspects of the complaints. We are committed to finding appropriate solution to these complaints and requests as soon as possible." This visit is part of the ongoing consultations between the government and the citizens living in that area. After the participation of youth from the Rwanda district in the consultative meeting with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohamed Ali Ahmed, they discussed issues of concern to them, including access to clean drinking water and solar energy, employment opportunities, especially for young students who graduate, and financial support to start projects related to entrepreneurship and lack of training. Speakers also referred to the urgent need to strengthen educational institutions and to build a community development center for the development of young Rwanda people and a medical and hospital center in this regard. In conclusion, the youth of Rwanda congratulated the President of the National Assembly for his initiative to organize the consultative meeting. After having listened to the grievances of the young people by reflecting on them, the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Mohammed, undertook to respond to the demands that were raised during this meeting, which are related to the issues of local development and the fight against unemployment. Concerning access to energy in Rwanda, we will assign employees for the national water authorities to solve this problem. President Mohammed Ali Mohammed has asked to write down the number of unemployment young graduates in Rwanda, and we are trying to find solution to this problem. Regarding the shortage of medical centers, we will try to solve them. Now, after the end of the quarantine imposed by the government to reduce the spread of the COVID-19 throughout the national territory, and through which gathering places such as stadiums, cafes, and parks were closed, the community development centers located in the neighborhood of the capital were reopened, while the various sport activities taking place in these centers began. In addition, gymnasium, fitness rooms, and other games were opened. Mrs. Quraisho, Director of a Program in the Community Development Centers, welcomed the successful launch of the various sport activities that were taking place in the centers. She also indicated that it will be the resumption of sport activities that have been suspended in these centers, provided that the directives of the Ministry of Public Health are respected. It should be noted that a medical opinion is required before resuming any sporting activity for everyone. Both the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport recommends a gradual return to training. The Gargar Association of the city of Dikhil granted in the afternoon of yesterday leaks of water tank of 200 pounds to some 40 destitute families of the unit city. The distribution ceremony was attended by the President of the National Council, Regional Council, Mr. Abdurrahman Yunus Are, Deputy Prefect, Mr. Fuad Abubakar, the members of the association, its President, Lula Usman, as well as the beneficiaries. The ambassador of Djibouti in Japan, His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Arete Ali, proceeded on July 90th to the opening ceremony of the bid of the second lot relating to the construction of a second ferry boat financed within the framework of the project for reinforcement of the maritime transport in the Gulf of Tajura. The other tender of the first lot for the reinforcement of the capacity of the berthing facilities that will take place in June has been postponed to October due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The shipyard company Kitahama Sozen Teko Company won the tender and will build the ferry within 18 months. The project for the construction of the ferry boat and the reinforcement of the capacity of the berthing facilities is based on the exchange of notes signed on 30 September 2019 between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Djibouti, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Ali Yusuf, and the Ambassador of Japan to Djibouti, His Excellency Mr. Koji Yonitani. The new ferry will strengthen the maritime link between Djibouti and the cities in the north of the country by increasing the frequency of services, and even during the period of the strong wind coming from the west called Khamsin. Also present at the signing ceremony were the representative of JICA, Mr. Kaoru Okada, the first consul of the embassy, Mr. Ismail Yusuf Hersi, and the representative of the joint venture of consulate. Moving on to international news, as I mentioned in the headlines, that Africa is expected to partially recover next year from the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The African Development Bank said. The institution added that the continent could still lose nearly $250 billion in terms of economic income in 2020 and 2021. If the pandemic continues in the second half of this year, the AFDB forecast a 3.4% contraction in gross domestic product in 2020. In comparison, the Bank of Abidjan projected a 3.9% growth before the pandemic. However, the expected recovery in 2021 will not compensate for the cumulative loss of Africa's GDP, estimated at USD 230 billion due to the pandemic. The rebound is threatened by the many risks, including the fact that the oil exporters such as Algeria, Angola, Libya, and Nigeria are experiencing the large declines in economic output on the continent. Other threatening factors include low commodity prices, volatile global financial conditions, and even natural disasters such as the locust infestation that have ravaged East Africa this year. This is it for this edition of 9 p.m. Thank you for watching us and have a wonderful evening.